So, hello everyone, and welcome back to STW Sports. I'm host Samuel Wright, joined by Wycombe Wanderers fan Kieran Hearn. And Kieran, so Wycombe Wanderers been a pretty entertaining season from their point of view so far. Fourth in the League One table, I believe, at the moment. What have you made of it so far from a Wycombe point of view?
I think it's been brilliant. I think there's been quite a few standout moments, particularly recently, of course, like the 2-0 win against Oxford, I thought was sublime. Brilliant football. And then, of course, the 3-3 draw against Sunderland, which really was like a battle to the finish sort of thing. Like a last-minute goal by Joe Jacobson. Unbelievable.
Yeah, obviously, like you say, it's been an entertaining season. Obviously, a few good results recently. There's Sunderland one, of course, scoring an equaliser right at the end as well. I do want to say, Kieran, as well, I don't think there's ever a good way to get relegated, but for Wycombe, it was probably one of the most positive relegations we've ever seen last season in the Championship. If the season had continued 1 or 2 more weeks, you probably would have stayed up. Because of that end of the season form you showed in the second tier, do you feel like going into this season, there was a real confidence about the fans, of course, who were also returning to the ground, and of course, Gareth Ainsworth, very much a love figure at the club, 10 years in charge there now, nearly. Did you feel like going into this season, the confidence was already there?
I felt there was a bit of confidence, yeah. I did worry a bit that there might be a knock-on effect because, of course, we came a lot closer to staying in the Championship than a lot of neutrals thought we would. A lot of people thought Wycombe haven't got a chance at all. They're not going to come close. But we were closer than a lot of people thought. I mean, we only got relegated by a point, really. Oh, the light's gone off. We only got relegated by a point, so it was a complete mind-boggling experience. But going into this season, I think we need it. We've done it right. We've shrugged it off. We've got on with it, and I think the team has grown. The players have grown not just individually, but as a unit, as one. And the new signings that Gareth has brought in, like Sam Vokes and the others, they've really sort of blossomed and grown into that team.
Yeah, I was going to ask as well about the signing of Sam Vokes, Kieran. That was a very, very exciting one. Obviously, we know Sam Vokes obviously even scored goals at Premier League level throughout his career. He's only got about 8 goals this season, I believe, so far. But do you think a player like that can lift the ones around them? Obviously, this season, Sam Vokes, a player who's been playing for Burnley, of course, in the Premier League recently, scored plenty of goals, as I say, in his career. Do you feel like having a player like that around does lift the team?
I feel it does in an extent. Like it will lift the team. He's got a experience of what it's like playing at a high level, so he could bring that knowledge to the lowly. He can also give the younger players confidence to sort of, show them what they should be doing, how to adapt to improve their game. Not saying they can't already do it, but maybe if some are struggling, he can be there to sort of like give them a push in the right direction, sort of thing. But we got to forget, Sam, he was not the player who started the whole goal scoring spree. Of course, it was Gareth McCleary and everyone. But when Sam Vokes started scoring, everyone was happy with it, and we're all happy with him now, like how he's playing and everything like that. So amazingly though, I think he's only scored 1 goal with his feet this season. I'm not complaining, of course, but it is the style of football that Wycombe play. So majority of goals are going to be scored from headers. So it's what happens, really.
Yeah. Also, this weekend you do host MK Dons. Obviously, after that 3-2 defeat last weekend to Morecambe, unfortunately. Game against MK Dons at home. MK Dons, obviously, and yourselves very close together in the table, of course. What you expect from that game, and of course, how much of a big game is this due to the fact, of course, they are literally, I believe, 1 place behind you?
Well, see, with me, I have this, like, I'm still one of these people who, I hope I can say this to you now. I'm still one of these people that feel that it has grown dramatically in recent years. Like it's the same with the rivalry of Oxford. That it's all grown. I wouldn't say it's a rivalry that sort of I wouldn't say it's a sort of rivalry that sort of hinders on what we expect. But I remember watching our last time against home against them, an entertaining game. Of course, it ended in a 3-2 draw, a 3-2 win. Sorry, but it is a fun-filled and it's an unpredictable game. It's a tough game. Of course, we're both fighting for the playoffs here, so we'll have to see what happens, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely going to be a big game with both teams in the playoffs. Wycombe in fourth, MK Dons in fifth, as mentioned. Going to touch on some memory questions now, Kieran. Obviously, we said before we went on air, you've been a fan 15 years. 2009, 2012, it was promotion, relegation, promotion, relegation. Obviously, experiencing times like that, obviously, never a boring season, it's fair to say. But what was that like to go through as a Wycombe fan, really? And on the other side, how did it feel afterwards when maybe the ship was a little bit steadied? Because when you're having them sort of seasons, it must be weird as a fan, really, to be promoted, relegated, and obviously a bit of a yo-yo team. We see it with plenty. Of course, the likes of Norwich City got a habit of it, and even Rotherham from Championship and League One. But, how was that as a Wycombe fan?
It was a bit frustrating, if I'm totally honest with you. It was really like we kept going up and kept coming back down. It was like I was sort of thinking, can we get up and just stay there? Like, what is it going to take, sort of thing? And of course, we come really close under Gary Woodcock, under his last full season as Wycombe manager, and then of course we parted company with him, and Gareth Ainsworth took over. But in that period where we were jumping, it was exciting at times. It was also nerve-wracking, but we needed to be alert and ready, because we could have had one, like all these games could have just made the difference, where we could have propelled and stayed in League One. But I think when we first went to League One under Gareth, there was a whole different attitude. There was a whole different mentality. And when we were confirmed safe in League One, we were just over the moon. I think we were just like, 'cause no one expected like a team with like the smallest budget in that league to stay there, because of course money dictates football these days, and occasionally you get the unpredictability with football, with teams that show a bit more spirit and a bit more determination.
Yeah, absolutely. And also as well, the promotion in 2018 from League Two, kind of a dramatic one, I believe, beating Chesterfield, of course. I believe a result or two had to go your way as well. How was that one anyway? And of course, 2 years later, we'll touch on in a moment the promotion from League One. But first, we'll talk about the one from League Two under Ainsworth in 2018.
I think we were all just relieved that we didn't. I think I speak for all the fans. We were just relieved that we went up automatically. We didn't falter at the last minute and drop into the playoffs and have to have the drama of the playoffs. I mean, a lot of fans like the playoffs because, of course, you get the chance to go to Wembley. You're on TV. You get sort of like a bit of the glamour sort of thing, but you do run the risk of not being promoted. Like any fan in any football club will tell you that you do run the risk of not being promoted. So I think it was just great that we sort of sealed it on the day. It was done. We were going to be playing League One football next season. And what more could you say, really?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I will ask now about that promotion in 2020. Obviously controversial in a way. Very much a shame the fans couldn't be there as well, of course, due to obviously the pandemic. But Wycombe Wanderers, of course, it was a bit of a fairy tale for you guys, really. Obviously going up against Oxford, beating Fleetwood in the semi-finals and Oxford in the final. It was crazy, really, from a Wycombe point of view. But, what were your feelings like on that day? And I imagine watching it on TV and knowing that Wycombe will be playing Championship football just 2 years after being promoted from League Two.
It was nerve-wracking, like going into the game. Like I thought, because I happened to work with a few Oxford United fans, so I thought, if we lose this, I'm never going to hear the end of it, and it's just going to be a complete nightmare. But I think the players, they went into the game confident, upbeat, they were ready to go. And to be honest, when it still shocks me to this day though that when the ball got played through, Fred made the run, he got the little touch on the ball, he clashed into the keeper. The keeper was not even booked for that challenge at all. Like, he was not, no yellow card, no red card, not even a yellow card, which I was shocked about. But those last, like, couple of minutes of added time in the playoff final were nerve-wracking. They were scary. Like, literally, we're sort of like looking around. I was sort of like, I stood up, sort of like tapping my feet. I was like, oh my, come on, can we just get to the finish line? Can we just get there, please? And but when the final whistle went, I couldn't believe they'd done it. And to be honest, like, I think I woke up the next morning thinking, did I dream that or did it really happen? And like, it was just like, it was a fairy tale, like you say. It was unbelievable. Like, it was almost like sort of like an old-fashioned story, like with like, when you've got like Brian Clough taking Nottingham Forest, like a mediocre team, to becoming champions of Europe. It was sort of like that almost, but with Wycombe, and doing that within 3 seasons, from getting promoted to League One and then propelling into the playoffs. And then, of course, the season came to an abrupt halt because of COVID. But but they said, we're going to resume play. We will do points per game. So, of course, sadly, that meant we went back into the playoffs and Peterborough dropped out. And, of course, a lot of Peterborough fans were not happy with that, of course. But, like, it's hardly our fault. We can't really fault at what happened with COVID. And, unfortunately, we were just in the right place at the right time. And, of course, we made the final. We went to Wembley. Again, of course, it was against Oxford, the team just down the M40. And that is probably one of the reasons why, like I say, rivalries have grown in recent years, because of that playoff final. But like I say, I was so relieved we won it. I was so relieved. Like, everyone was so happy. It was brilliant. It was just I think the biggest letdown, of course, was the fans weren't there. But also, when we got to play in the Championship, none of us got to experience it as fans. We weren't allowed to be there. So hopefully, this season they can respond first time of our skin. We can do it all again. We can get back there. A lot of people think Wycombe as a football club wouldn't survive in the Championship because, like, several factors. Like, one is our ground is too small, but it should not be about the size of the ground, to be honest. If your team can play the football and stay in that league, it's a different story. So that is the way I look at it. And like, I think that determination is there with the players, and that's what a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Well, usually I'd ask my guests who their favourite ever manager is, but I don't think I need to ask you that, of course. Gareth Ainsworth will surely be the answer, but I will ask anyway about Ainsworth. Thoughts on him? Obviously, I mentioned a bit earlier on, nearly 10 years at the club now. Obviously, the things he's done, how well he's done, of course, in taking up from League One, and even this season getting relegated, but keeping the players' attitudes up. And obviously last season, give a real good go of staying in the Championship when not many people really give Wycombe a chance, especially after they lost their opening 7 games in the season and then went on a great run towards the end. And if the season had continued, as I said, for a couple more weeks, definitely would have stayed up. Yeah, what do you make of Gareth Ainsworth anyway?
He is a good manager. He has stated before, he's one of these few managers that has had the opportunity to go to he's like to go on to better things, like to go to clubs with bigger budgets, higher leagues. He's been linked with several jobs, but he said, I do, if I wore hats, I would take my hat off to him, because he said, no, I want to stay at this club. Yes, they don't have the biggest budget. But it's what he says, it would have to take something special for him to leave Wycombe, and he really cares about the football club. So that's something we can like we have to look at him and say, like, you know, thank you for saying that there's something good about this football club, and I do want to stay here because I am happy here. And his style of football is obviously a lot criticised, but at the end of the day, it gets the results. It gets the results. It gets the wins. There's no problem. If it picks up points in the bag, you're not going to complain. That's the way I look at it. But in I think the only drawback I would have of Gareth is he can tend to be a bit too loyal to players. He's a bit too favoritism of players. Like, he doesn't give other players the chance. Like, we got like Daryl Horgan on the bench, who hasn't really played a lot in recent weeks. So like, that's the only drawback I'd say on Gareth. About, he needs to, like, I don't feel he alters the squad enough. But in saying that, he's a fantastic manager, and like, he does prove people wrong. He proves journalists wrong. He proves critics wrong, and it pays off. So it's something in there. There's sort of like a factor that changes things. It was literally like when we played Morecambe at home earlier in the season. We were 2-0 down at half time. Everyone was saying, what's going on here? Like, literally, we're all like going like, I admit here, I did say, like, if Gareth does not make a change at half time, it's unbelievable. But we came out, turned it around, we won 4-3, and I couldn't believe it. And like, I said to someone, I said, did he go into like the changing room, like throw a chair across the changing room or something? Because they just come out and it's just like, they've just hit the ground running, and they turned it around, and it was just a brilliant ending. It's just a shame that these types of games are not covered enough on TV, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to ask you as well now about your favourite ever Wycombe Wanderers player. Who stands out for you?
It may strike you, it may surprise you, but I don't actually have a favourite Wycombe player. Like, I like them all. They all bring something different in their own way, and I don't have a favourite Wycombe player. I got asked this question about 3 weeks ago, just before the Sunderland game. I don't actually have a favourite Wycombe player.
So I will ask you thoughts on one player. That doesn't have to be your favourite, but Adebayo Akinfenwa, obviously, a very well-loved figure in football, obviously. Got promoted with you guys as well from League One, I believe, in the 1920 season. May not be your favourite ever player, Akinfenwa, for Wycombe, but what are your thoughts on the big man?
To be honest, a lot of people said before, saying like, why isn't he retiring? He's not, like, why didn't he retire when we got promoted to the Championship? But I looked at it on a personal point of view. Like, you look at it, the highest he's played is League One. He's got the opportunity to play in the Championship, which would be the highest he's ever played. Like, from a personal point of view, I could see why he chose to do that, why he chose to stay and play. I think everyone likes him because he's a good motivator, because he brings something. He brings sort of like a personality to the club that, everyone can get behind, like the players can listen to and get behind. And but yeah, like, of course, he has confirmed this is his last season, I believe. And it will be sad to see him go. I mean, of course, there's a lot of critics out there, a lot of fans out there who are very skeptical of him, saying like, he's too slow, he can't do this, he can't do that. But sometimes in the right moments, he pops up and he scores the goals, and he either scores the goals or he sets up the goals. So you got to sort of give the big guy credit where it's due,
Yeah, absolutely. And final question for you as well, Kieran. If you're to make a prediction right now on where you think Wycombe Wanderers will finish in League One this season, where are you saying? And if it's in the playoffs, where do you think you'll win the playoffs?
To be honest, I think we're good enough to finish in the playoffs. It's more just if the consistency keeps going. I think we can finish in the playoffs, definitely. Whether we win it or not, for me, it's a different story. I really don't want to. I don't want to jinx it, and B, I don't want to. I don't want to make a predict. I don't want to call it here and now sort of thing, unfortunately. But I think definitely they're more than capable of finishing in the playoffs, and we'll see where it goes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining me anyway, Kieran. Pleasure chatting to you and meeting you. And yes, good luck to Wycombe Wanderers for the rest of the season.